saved the league, and I think the league took off when the Detroit Pistons showed up on the scene. Number 33 in purple or number 33 in gold, if I do what I'm supposed to do, I can beat you.
Nobody in the world would agree with him.
Nobody.
And they didn't.
Yeah.
They didn't. By the way, they still don't believe it.
I know.
I'm just glad the film don't lie.
Film don't lie. We just had Barkley on, and Barkley was talking about around the time you coming in how Bird and Magic saved the league. Do you agree with that?
I think Bird and Magic saved the league, and I think the league took off when the Detroit Pistons showed up on the scene. I think Bird and Magic,
really,
you know, what the NBA was coming out of in the 70s, and how the United States was. I mean, we have to talk about that now. How the United States was for black men in the 70s, and then Bird and Magic being on the stage
Bro, trying to think all the
in the early 80s, coming out of college and then, playing that, that game again. Magic coming to LA, Bird going to Boston. They walked into culture. They walked into foundation. They walked into a way of being. They walked into winning. They didn't have to, get a piece of paper and go to school and get educated.
Right.
They walked into it, right? Now, that helped. But what the ratings say and what the numbers say, when the league took off, is when them bad boys from the Detroit Pistons showed up, because we showed up with a totally different kind of crowd.
Okay.
We had,
talk that
people
shit.
from
Hey,
all
like I said,
different walks
Isaiah
of life.
Thomas was talking this
And
shit
we started
apparently.
putting 50, 60,000 people in the Silverdome.
That's a big ass stadium.
That's a big stadium.
And
what the fuck?
Then we had 3 rivalries. I think we the only team that only had 3 rivalries. The Lakers, the Celtics, and the Bulls, right? So every time we played, everywhere we moved, right, it was different. And then we didn't understand.
Well,
we
say
didn't
that
know.
for the other teams aside from the Lakers.
So
I
we
don't think
met
the
a
Lakers had a
gentleman by the
rivalry
name
with
of
the
Mike
Bulls.
Ornstein with the LA Raiders, or the Oakland Raiders at that time. What they call cross-marketing today, we didn't know there was such a term as cross-marketing.
I do want to look up the numbers though, cause I ain't gonna lie, some of these NBA players just be saying shit, dog. Let's see. I mean, this is just the finals. Because I don't think we can really look at TV ratings on a per game basis and average TV ratings per team type shit. But let's fuck around and find out. So this was when, was it this one? No. This is the year Magic came into the league. I'm surprised this hadn't. Okay. So this is 1974 was the first time they started tracking it. Was it? Yeah, it had to be this one. So this was Magic's first year in the league. It was at 8 out of 29. All right. We get Celtics versus Rockets. That shit dips. Jesus Christ. And then we get Lakers. Goes up to 13, which is the highest since it was first tracked. 12.3, 12.1, 13.5, 14.1, 15.9. Yeah. Hold on. Okay, this is the next thing we need to track. When did the Detroit Pistons really start? Like, for real. They started winning. They started becoming a contender around, what would y'all say? At this point, they became a 50-win team, but first round, second round, first round. So they didn't become... Yeah, I would say they didn't really become a championship contender till 87. And then 88 and 89 was when they peaked for real. But 87 is when they start to really peak. Okay. I don't know, man. I don't know. Cause even like once it started. So this was the first. Essentially, since the Lakers came in, this has been around 12, 13, right? Celtics in 86. This was pretty good for facing only the Rockets. And then we get Lakers versus Celtics. This looks like the highest until Jordan comes in, right? And then we get Lakers versus Pistons. This is pretty high. Lakers. I'm just saying, when it was just the Pistons in the finals, shit did go down. I ain't gonna lie. But when you had at least the Lakers or the Celtics in there, the ratings were good. The ratings were good. Like for real. And you might say, yo, I mean, at this point it was pretty low compared to these numbers. But look at these numbers compared to these numbers, and you'll see the difference. You'll see the difference for real. And then by this point, I mean, Jordan. This is Jordan. Yeah. This is crazy though. This right here, that's just crazy. Oh, shit. All right, let's go back.
But our connection with the Oakland Raiders then let us start changing our colors. So we went from the red, white, and blue to the silver and black.
There's
and
some
then
merit to it.
We had a second jersey. We had a second uniform. You know, and the NBA really didn't own any of that. So when we walked off the stage and the Bulls walked on the stage, that's when y'all got the shooting jerseys. That's when they started changing the different color uniforms and everything else. But the Pistons started all that. So the highest rated games in the 80s, Pistons against Celtics, Pistons against Lakers, Pistons against Bulls. And they all have one thing in common.
Pistons.
That's the Detroit Pistons.
Mm-hmm.
It's that attitude and energy y'all brought.
Again, maybe I just need to see the conference finals ratings. But hey, I don't want to be
This NBA game 31-11.
Ooh.
Crazy first game,
Ooh.
31-11. Jeez. You make the All-Star game as your rookie year too. Clearly the leader of your team. Did that come to you naturally, or like when you showed up, they knew you was leader, or did you have to fight for that?
I never thought of myself as the leader. I never thought of myself as the captain. Leadership is given. You never walk into a room and be like, I'm the leader. You know, they vote on it. You know, who's gonna be the captain? Okay, you can be the captain. And I was selected the captain
there might be
and
some
the leader only because they trust me, right? And that type of trust is earned, and then you have to honor it too.
Mm-hmm.
Like that means
uphold it. Yep.
Yeah, that means you can't go out when
Right.
everybody else is going out.
Right.
Right? You can't.
I didn't know it meant that much.
Yeah, you can't do the things that
Right.
everybody else is doing. Because there's a certain amount of trust and respect that goes along with that.
Yeah.
So that first game against Milwaukee, I'm playing against, not Quinn Buckner. I'm playing against him. This is my first time playing against him. That dude was just in my house. He went undefeated. He went undefeated in high school and undefeated in college. Still the last undefeated team, right? Now I'm playing against him. And he like, hey, Junior, how you doing? I'm like,
I don't know. You're the one that's looking at me.
At night.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so I remember like the first 2-3 plays, I get by
What?
him.
I'm still streaming.
And I go down the lane. I go
What
down
are
the
you
lane
looking at me for?
to make a layup. I come back down the lane again, and Bob Lanier, literally,
Close the
I'm
door.
up in the air like this, and he goes, woof,
Caught you in the air.
caught me in the air and set me down and said, look, don't come down here no more. I was like, okay. My jump shot got real good then.
That was a big boy.
Because when he
Say
called
what?
me,
Smack
because
sauce
when
is
he
crazy,
called me,
though.
it wasn't, when them guys hit you, right? It wasn't like a gentle whoop. It was like,
Yeah.
and they put that force behind him. And
That
as
old
a
man
little
strength.
dude, you feel that, right?
That old man
That
strength.
dude set me down, man, and but I had a good game that night, but I was looking
31-11.
forward to the next night. So you talking about that 31-11?
Yo, let's get into the meat and
next
potatoes,
night, then we
Isaiah.
come
What
home
are we
to play
doing?
the Chicago Bulls, and I
That's the
dropped
home
30
team.
in that game.
Oh.
Now that's the game that I really like.
Yeah.
Because now all my boys there.
Everybody there.
I mean, everybody there. You know, Red, Magic
What's
Wand.
that trip from Chicago to Boston? How long is that trip?
So from my understanding, the beef is really rooted in the fact that Isaiah Thomas is actually from Chicago, right? MJ comes in. MJ gets all this love from Chicago. Gets all the love from the NBA, right? And then Isaiah Thomas leads the Detroit Pistons to become Chicago's #1 rival. And then Chicago ends up hating their hometown hero and choosing Michael Jordan instead. That's the root of a lot of this hate, from my understanding at least. And just competitiveness and shit.
Bus or car?
From Chicago to Detroit.
Oh, excuse me, yeah.
Oh, it's 4 hours and it's 3.5, depending on how
who's
fast you're going.
Yeah. Jack can get there in 3.
Yeah.
2:45.
So straight down 94. So now, we go to Chicago. Like I say, Red, Magic Wand, all my brothers near them there. Everybody up in the stands. And my mom and my aunt, like back then,
Yes, I
they
did.
didn't have
Yes, I did, Ali.
the metal detectors. So my mom, she believed in the Second Amendment now. She
got her
packed.
piece,
She
huh?
had
Yeah.
every,
I
everywhere
was a real G.
yeah,
The blinky.
and my aunt got a switchblade. She carried a switchblade in the wind. And I don't know if people remember this, but like she would be
The
sitting there
KL or
talking, right?
KIT?
And you remember they could do tricks with
Yeah,
them
with the knives,
switchblades.
yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
And she likes, be talking to you and like twirling it all around and hitting it. And,
Nice with it.
And close it up on you when they finish.
and so they would bring food to the game. So they bring in their chicken and everything, and and I'll never forget. So we Ricky Sobers was the guard then. War number 14, top.
Hey,
Sobers. I like
Played
that
at
name,
UNLV,
Sobers.
right? And so we, I'm going through my stuff. I went between my legs, and that dude like hit me so hard, bam, right? I folded up, right? Because back then, they didn't like when you try to show them off. Like now, you can just go through your legs and everything else for a long time.
Back then they stand you up.
And so I say, hey, man, don't hit me like that no more. What you gonna do, you little punk? I say, okay. I say, you see all them people sitting up there? I say, you live here. I say, you hit me like that one more time, you won't live here no more.
Straight up.
That's it.
Okay, Dirk, what the fuck? This is little Dirk.
That's simple.
What the fuck?
And, we had a good game.
Yeah.
We ended up winning.
Yeah. I ended up winning. He paid attention. No,
Come
that's right.
85, the year Jordan enters the league. At the time, the East was
What
loaded.
to say?
Yourself, MJ, Bird, Dominique,
got shooters.
Moses Malone, Charles Barkley, Dr. J. What was the Eastern Conference back in the middle of the 80s like every night?
You see, I just took a sip of water
Yeah.
because all them
Heavy.
names you just named off, I'm like, shit,
Heavy.
I'm sweating now. It's like, man, Philadelphia was so good back then. Mo Cheeks, Andrew Toney, Dr. J, Moses Malone, Bobby Jones, they don't get enough credit for what they was doing in the 80s back then. I mean, that team was good. And then they got Barkley, right? It just wasn't fair, right?
I do agree. If there is one team, one era that's hella underrated, I will say the 80s, and really the late 70s Sixers. What they did for the game and just how dominant they were, hella underrated. I ain't gonna lie. I know Magic and Larry get a lot of the credit for saving the NBA, but listen, Dr. J, being who he was, going from the ABA to the NBA, in my opinion, was just as big, just as important, to be honest with you.
Bird, McHale, Parrish, Milwaukee, that Milwaukee team was loaded with Marcus Johnson and all them. So we, it was hell, up in there. But, what we had and what we were developing was different than all the other teams, right? All those teams you just named. What we was developing was identity, culture, belief, systems, understanding, those
Hold on. Shout out to Rick Grimes for the 10 gifted. Yeah, shout out to Rick Grimes from The Walking Dead for the 10 gifted. This is crazy. Yeah. Appreciate that, man. I don't even know if you're a regular type shit, but appreciate that, though. Appreciate that, man. Throw a W in the chat for Rick Grimes, bro. And Big M got a membership. I don't know where Big M at, but shout out to Big M,
those things that you carry with you for the rest of your life, right? That's what we was building as a team. And talent-wise, all those people that you just named, we didn't have that kind of talent. But what we could do is we could out-scheme you, and we can adhere to a game plan and concentrate and do it for 2.5 hours. Most teams, most players, they can't concentrate for 2.5 hours.
Right.
And so when Jordan came in, in 84, 85, right? He was mega talented. And not only was he mega talented, but we had never seen an athlete like that. You got to remember, like in the NBA at that time, Dr. J still was the best athlete. And when Jordan came in younger than Dr. J, I was like, okay, he's the next Dr. J. And, wasn't nobody jumping from the foul line and hanging in the air and doing all the stuff around the rim that he was doing. You didn't have athletes like that. So he was a fascinating watch. So Dumars and I, right? We would be, I never forget, every time Chicago played, Joe and I would be on the phone and we'd be talking because we got to play against them, right? And they were playing New Jersey.
Shout out to all the smoke, bro. This
Chicago.
This shit is a W.
And Joe and I, we talking and Jordan came down on the left side, caught on the left wing, went through a couple of dribbles, and then he took off on the left box. And dude floated all the way to the right box. And then laid it up on the other side. And I swear to God, Joe and I were on the phone, and for about 5 minutes, man, it was just dead silence. Dead silence.
The fuck did we just see?
Yeah. And then all of a sudden it was like, "Hi man, I see you at practice tomorrow."
Soon enough.
Side note, this is not about this, but I just a comment that I want to make. And what I've noticed too, podcasts are definitely different from live streams. I don't know if y'all watch Joe Budden, but the dynamic and the flow of the conversation is much different between like an offline podcast, like they're doing right now, where it's just mics, recording software, and motherfuckers sitting down and talking, as opposed to doing that same thing with a live audience and having to acknowledge, you know what I'm saying, memberships, super chats, gifteds, and all that. It is definitely a different fucking experience.
This is what we got to deal with.
I mean, that dude jumped.
And also, I think when you have guests on, that could be a bad thing because, they close in a little bit. They're not as open with you because of a live audience, live chat going crazy, et cetera, et cetera. Which do you prefer? Personally, I like the live. I like live streaming better, just because I like interacting with the community. But I also think there is beauty in just talking about shit on an offline basis, being edited, what you say too. You know what I'm saying? Like if you fuck up and you say some crazy shit that you truly don't believe in type shit and you want to cut it out, you can do that. You can record whenever you want. It's easier to batch record too. You can record 3 pods in a day, upload that shit for the next week and a half, and people won't know the difference. It's not gonna affect their consumer habits, this, that, and the third. But it's a give and take. It's a give and take.
From the left box and was up in the air and went all the way over to the right box
That's some special
and
shit.
laid it up. It was like,
We had Magic on the show at the end of December, and your name came up, and Magic was talking about what you and him went through and how you guys were able to sit down and patch it up.
Which was beautiful, by the way.
thank
Yeah,
you.
Yeah,
was
no,
beautiful.
everyone was big fans of that. But he also said he would like to see you and Mike patch it up. You called me after that, and we had a conversation on the phone about
Matt
what was
Barnes?
going. You care to share any of that?
Yeah, hey man, I
Let's-
just want some people to be honest.
Yeah.
I got no problem sitting down talking with anybody,
Uh-oh.
right? And as you can see, I'm
Your open book.
I live with love, peace, truth, honesty, courage. I stand on my square. I'm upright,
And that's
I'm-
what
I'm
Tate says too.
independent.
So.
And I sit in any chair and I talk to anybody, right? But some people they ain't been telling the truth, right? Now, anywhere, anytime, publicly. Don't call me behind the scenes apologizing or asking your friends to apologize, right? You got on national television and you called me an asshole.
Mm.
And then you said you hated me.
Mm.
You said that on national television.
Mm.
Now, if you didn't mean it, get on national television
You say that.
and apologize for it. Now, if you meant it, let it ride as it is. But so I called you, and that same day,
I'm about to say, you probably
you know
did
who
me.
I called? I called Magic Johnson. Magic was on a plane. They was shooting a commercial in Atlanta. Him, Sam Jackson, everybody else. We were staying in the Four Seasons Hotel. We missed each other, right? Because he said he had to go, so he on the plane, right? I called him up. Magic didn't mention Michael Jordan. All right. So I'm still waiting. Everybody say this stuff publicly, right? Yeah, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do. All right, well, I'm the type of guy, I sit here, I talk to you, I talk to you. It ain't a person in this United States of America that I'm not willing to sit down and have a conversation with and break bread with. But if you lying,
Break bread is crazy though. I don't know if it just meant something else, but I ain't breaking bread with anyone. And I'm also not having a conversation with anyone.
and throwing stones from behind the scenes, okay, that's you. But if you honest and you upright on your square, I'm willing to deal with it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So that's all I know. Now, where do we go from here?
I mean, you told me something interesting. I mean, you had family that had stayed with him at one point.
Absolutely. Hey, when Jordan first came to Chicago, first of all, we were fans of his. And to some extent, still fans of his. My family, his family, not only did they socialize, hang out, but as I said, I had a little nephew that lived with him. And everybody's still cool, right? Ain't no hate for
Yeah.
Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
We just want some realness, right? Did you just, like I say, you got on national television. And ain't nobody nowhere has ever got on national television and called me an asshole and then publicly said you hate me. I ain't heard that from you. I ain't heard that from you. I ain't heard that from no NBA player. And so
You sound hurt for
and by
real.
the way,
I ain't gonna lie.
all them years that you supposedly hated me, you voted for me to be the president of your union.
Yeah, I
so-
seen a lot of pictures of All-Star games and y'all laughing and joking. It didn't look like hate.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, if that, now maybe you felt like that privately and I didn't know. But now that I do know, and by the way, if you didn't mean it that way, then publicly say it. Don't privately say it. Magic, we don't need a private conversation.
Mm-hmm.
This man did this on national television, internationally. I have to answer this question, right? In every interview that I sit down and do.
Mm-hmm.
You asking me this question,
Mm-hmm.
right?
He has a point though. I ain't gonna lie, he has a point. You know what I'm saying? Like if someone talks shit about me on the timeline, like don't go ahead and apologize to me in private. You was talking all that shit, but now you want to apologize in private. Nah, keep that same energy. You made this shit public. Let's keep it public till it's done. Yeah. Cause I'm just saying if they hashed it up privately, why is it up to Isiah Thomas to then go out and say, yeah, we hashed it out privately? Not when Jordan's pull is like completely different. You know what I'm saying? Like we all know Michael Jordan going out in public and publicly saying Isiah Thomas is my brother and I actually fuck with him is completely different than Isiah Thomas doing the exact same thing. But
so now I'm the one who's looking like, oh, why are you talking about Jordan? Why are you saying this?
Right.
When you to put that out there, and now you at home or on your golf course or doing whatever you do, and now I got to answer this BS question.
Mm-hmm.
So if you man enough, and you, if you meant it, leave it as it is.
Mm.
But if you didn't mean it, then come out and clean it up.
The same way it came out.
Same way it came out, with the same intensity.
You gotta respect that though.
That's
You gotta
where I
respect
stand.
that. I mean,
it sounds like Jordan meant it though. I don't know. I don't know. Like if Jordan, it makes sense, but like, okay, he said keep it out in the public and don't do anything if I meant it. Okay, leave me a cigar. Like I'm moving on with my day. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't know.
because if the shoe was on the foot, I know I've been disrespected a lot, but if somebody disrespected me on TV during the game, but also at the end of the game, they decided, okay, you know what, I remember I said that, let me clear this up before we get off air. I gotta respect that. I can't hold it, I can't be mad at him no more because he corrected himself.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, you said Magic and I sat down and squash whatever we had going. Publicly. Magic Johnson apologized. He said, I'm sorry. If I hurt you, when I hurt you, I didn't mean that. I'm good with that.
Yeah.
I got to accept that. And we move on. But if you're going to let this linger out here in this basketball world and you got everybody else talking, but you ain't saying nothing. Now, if you meant it,
stand on it.
Stand on it. But if you didn't mean it, clean it up.
Mm-hmm. That's something.
You mentioned, obviously it's no secret that you and Magic were best of friends at one point.
Yep.
And what did it mean to you guys to be able to sit down and clear that air for you?
It meant a lot, not only to me, but we didn't know, and I didn't know how much it would mean
to all of us,
to the world. I had no idea. Right. Because when you're going through that, you just thinking about yourself. Yeah. You're not thinking about really how it's affecting other people. And I just had this same thing happen with Karl Malone and I, right? And by the way, thank you, Kenyon. Love you, Saginaw Strong. But you don't realize what the other person is carrying, right? You feeling, yourself and your grief and your hurt.
Right.
But the other person who's carrying that guilt, when you have the opportunity and you can relieve them of that, not knowing that that's how much they carrying, right?
Wow, it's not low key.
That was a powerful moment, not only for he and I, but it was a powerful moment for the world, which we didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like two moments we've had that we didn't realize what we was really doing that ended up changing a lot of stuff. Like when he and I like first hugged and kissed, right? You know what? They it's like I can't meet my brother and give him a handshake.
Hey, shout out to Twism for the 5. This is my last 5 for right now. Get you some fries or something, bro. Keep doing your thing. I see major success in your future, brother. Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. You really gave me $3 if I like really did the math. But appreciate it though. Like bro. Is that it? 'Cause I don't need to hear about Bozo Malone. Like for real. Let's see. I mean, like I said, I just think MJ actually meant that shit, and Isiah Thomas is waiting for an apology. That's not gonna happen. I'm just keeping it a bean. That shit is not happening, dog. I don't know what to tell you. Whether it's because he actually meant it or because MJ is just that petty, shit is not happening.